The funny thing is, a lot of our viewers are not your traditional tech-savvy people, like my parents. I observe their behavior. I don't even tell them that they are watching a fast channel. When I go back to Calcutta, I always see that on their Samsung TV Plus, the first channel that launches is ABP Arundu. That's their preferred news channel.
Right.
They don't even know that it's a fast channel. People are watching. People understand the value proposition of free. People in India understand the value proposition of ad-supported content. As long as it's content they love, as long as it does not come with ugly cables, they're going to watch it.
Yeah.
And they are smart enough and tech savvy enough to figure that out. I would say that slowly but surely, CTV and FAST is becoming a part of the whole media planning and media buying exercise for agencies. So that is a heartening first step. However, what is always a big question mark is how do they measure it? Today in APAC, I would say it's one of the major consideration markets for FAST. I would go as far as saying that any OEM or any platform partner that's thinking of a FAST strategy today in APAC is not going to ignore India. Because while India gets a lot of flack for the low CPM, but we cannot ignore the scale.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Voiro Podcast, Season 7, Episode 7, Magic Numbers. Today, I am happy to welcome my guest, Owendra Chakrabarti, who is the Geo Head for Streaming Sales at Amagi. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you.
Owendra has been in media sales for the majority of her career across JioSaavn, TikTok, HT Media, and now with Amagi. I'm sure you have some incredible stories to share and, having worked across all these different companies. We've been hearing about ByteDance and how TikTok was in India. And these are all very, very different organizations. And I'm sure that you've cherry-picked them because of the fun that you've had in all of these organizations. Okay, before anything else, the big question is, what are you watching or listening to right now?
In the ripe age of late 30s, I suddenly decided to get obsessed with Jane Austen. I haven't read Jane Austen at all, but I recently finished the audiobook Pride and Prejudice. And I also finished, because to continue my obsession, I finished the BBC, 1995 BBC show.
Oh, nice.
Pride and Prejudice.
I'm so jealous. You just totally got into the historical romance and everything else that Pride and Prejudice.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. I love it. Do you watch Bridgerton at all? Did you ever catch?
No.
So you're not a Regency romance person to begin with.
Not at all.
So this is completely out of character for you.
Yes. I love my sci-fi. I love history, but this was not something that I ever envisioned myself getting into. But
where did you watch it?
Where did I watch it?
Yeah, what
BBC player.
On Amazon Prime, through Amazon.
Yes, I know Amazon Prime.
Nice. Okay. So I came across Amagi some 11 years ago, right? And when we heard about Amagi, they were doing things like replacing ad spots on news streams, right? They have come a ways away from there, right? So what's Amagi up to now? What do you do there? And what makes Amagi what it is today? There's a lot of stuff that you'll offer now, more than what.
So we have completely transitioned from that business. Today, what we have is a host of solutions which are cloud-native solutions.
Okay.
3 broad categories, what we call as make, move, monetize.
Okay.
When we refer to make, we are talking about helping content partners, be it broadcast or digital native content partners, make channels on cloud. You don't need those massive hardware equipment. You can have everything on cloud today. Be OPEX and CAPEX light and, set up a business.
Just like you would do a YouTube channel. You can just set it up and just figure it out. Okay.
So it's that easy now, thanks to Amagi. When we talk about move, we have been hearing about fast channels a lot these days. So no fast channel is going to be successful in isolation. You need a platform, an end platform for the viewer to watch it.
Sure.
So we help you move your channel to different platforms as per the tech specs of the different platforms. So that's another side of our business.
When you say platforms, what do you mean?
Your Samsung TV Plus or your LG channels.
All your OEMs.
All your OEMs or even beyond OEMs, right? Today, when we talk about smart TV OSs, we have something like CloudWalker today in India,
Right.
So it's not just OEMs. I would say smart TV OS players.
Okay.
Sometimes they could be native to the OEMs.
Okay.
Sometimes they could be specifically smart TV OS players like the Cloudwalkers of the world, right?
Right.
So the definition of platform is very varied.
Okay.
But this is the end platform. The user doesn't care whether it's
the
OEM or whether it's an external OS player.
Correct.
So we help channels distribute their content to these end platforms as per the tech specs of the end platform. So that's the move part of it. So it's a distribution plus sort of a business where we are their preferred tech partner. And the monetized bit of it is our ad tech stack solution, which is our server-side ad insertion solution, Thunderstorm. And also Ads Plus, where we help content partners and platform partners monetize their CTV ad inventory, their fast ad inventory. And that's the business that I'm leading for APAC right now.
Nice. Okay. So let's take a broadcaster in question, right? I'm a traditional broadcaster. I have dwindling numbers. The numbers that I'm reading right now, I was telling just before we started recording, I was reading Vanita Kohli's article about there are about 157 million homes now that have TV sets, and CTV is a part of this, right? It's a subset of this, and so on and so forth. So now this is in India only, and so there is a growing amount of IP enabled television. So as a broadcaster, I'm like, okay, I need to be available on these platforms. So what do? I pick up the phone and call Amagi and say what?
So essentially, what you basically need to tell Amagi is that I have a channel, which has a good viewership,
right?
And today I don't want to miss out on the users who are tech savvy enough to watch this channel on a smart TV,
right?
And the funny thing is, a lot of our viewers are not your traditional tech savvy people, like my parents. I observe their behavior. I don't even tell them that they are watching a fast channel. When I go back to Calcutta, I always see that on their Samsung TV Plus, the first channel that launches is AVP Arundu. That's their preferred news channel.
Correct.
They don't even know that it's a fast channel.
They think it's like part of Tara Sky or whatever is their regular.
Yeah. They are just obsessed with the fact that they don't have ugly cables hanging around in there.
Which is a very good obsession. I also obsess about the fact there's nothing hanging down and going through a window or anything.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And we ought to understand that audiences are very smart.
Yeah.
They may not be able to talk in jargon about what a fast channel is or what a CTV is, but people are watching. People understand the value proposition of free. People in India understand the value proposition of ad-supported content. As long as it's content they love, as long as it does not come with ugly cables, they're going to watch it.
Yeah.
And they are smart enough and tech savvy enough to figure that out.
Yeah. And there's no barrier to entry, right? At all. Because you're just it's just there for you to watch. I actually watch a lot of my news as well on Fast because it's appointment viewing and you can watch your morning shows and you can literally see what morning shows are actually streaming concurrently. So you can actually go in and say, okay, not the breakfast show, but something else is happening.
Yes.
In
on
parallel.
PG, the electronic programming guide.
Correct. I also noticed that when you're watching on your IP-enabled TV or your CTV, earlier there would not be this history widget, right? Now, of course, Samsung gives it where you deep link yourself into an app. Earlier, you had to actually actively activate your app on the remote control or on the icon which you have set up by yourself. But today, if I was watching a show on Amazon Prime, like I'm watching Girlfriend right now, which is a completely deranged show, but I'm for some reason watching it. It knows where you've paused and it knows that you are the user who's actually paused and takes you into the OTT app.
Yeah.
So today, you're not relegated to just broadcasters on the EPG. You are anywhere on the OEM, wherever you can set anybody up anywhere. It doesn't have to be a television channel, right?
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, for any smart TV player or any smart OS player,
right,
you want to grab the user's attention.
Correct.
And you want to just ensure that if your user's watching something to reduce that friction, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, and a lot of that has to do with discovery fatigue also, which is becoming a
very real thing.
Yeah, it's a very real thing. If I have 30 minutes to watch television on a regular day,
correct,
I don't want to be spending 20 minutes trying to figure out what I want to watch.
Yeah.
So if my smart TV OS, or if my smart TV player knows that there is something that I'm watching currently, why not recommend it to me immediately so that I don't waste time? They get to grab my attention. I don't waste time as a viewer, and I just get my bang for the buck as well.
Yeah. So before we, just going back to the days of just mobile advertising, right? And, before it became as streamlined as it was, you had to create ad units for Nokia OS, Samsung OS, this OS, that OS. Oh my God, you had so many OSs, and then you had different sizes and whatever else. And then finally we came down to, iOS and Android. And then it kind of standardized, even with websites and browsers and so on and so forth. Are we in the age where, because there are so many separate, large, very well-established OEMs and separate players, this is a very real problem right now where you have to deal with different types of tech specs. And that's what you guys come in with, the make as not the second one. The second one is the move, right? The second M. Is that what is the main problem that you're facing right now?
No, I wouldn't say that, because as far as ad unit standardization is concerned, IAB, International Advertising Bureau, has solved that problem for everyone, and that's across the board, right? Whether it's your mobile ecosystem, whether it's your desktop, website, whatever it is, any category of digital advertising today is governed by the laws or regulations set by IAB. Sure. Same is the case with CTV.
Right.
However, CTV is still fairly nascent. So there is a push around, introducing newer ad units, similar to what we have observed in broadcast, like your L-bands, your Astons, your picture-in-picture, right? These are things that we have, especially in India. We have seen a lot of these in all the news channels. We've seen these in all the sports channels.
Correct.
So there is a push to ensure that IAB recognizes these formats. So essentially, there will always be standardization. And that's not because of CTV, but because of what you said, that earlier, based on the OS, if we had to figure out the ad unit, it was insane. I mean, how many ad units can a advertiser create?
Absolutely.
So IAB solved that problem for every ad ecosystem because of this problem around 10-15 years.
Makes sense. Nice. Okay. So, as a broadcaster, like I've called you now, right? And I've said, all right, listen, I need to shift my channel online or onto a fast or a CTV space.
Sure.
What do I give you? Like, what happens there? Like, do I just hand over my entire library of content? Do you convert everything? Like, how does it?
So there are two ways to go about it, and that really depends on the preference and how much investment you want to make into your fast channel. Majority of the broadcasters that we have today in India are what we call as turnaround channels.
Okay.
What that means is this is your standard satellite feed, which has been converted to an HLS feed. It's the same feed that goes on your broadcast, which also goes on your fast channel. It's just that they have placed ad markers.
Okay.
Which are called SCTI 35 markers.
Sure.
Those are your ad cues that allows us to insert ads digitally in fast.
Okay.
As opposed to in broadcast, what you see are the advertisement that
there's no change of this broadcast feed. Nothing. It basically, you kind of fork it out and say this goes here.
Perfectly.
And that goes there.
Exactly.
And the one that forks out, we go to the third M, which is now how do I monetize this?
Exactly. So for the monetization piece, what is a mandatory prerequisite is these ad cues.
That is,
the SCTI markers. If the SCTI markers are there, we can help you insert the...
What if they're not there? What if they're like...
That doesn't work.
Do you ask them to put that in? Do they have to get somebody else to do the whole SCTI marking and whatever?
I mean, so either you come to Amagi and we help you create the channel from scratch.
Right.
But if you want to give us a ready-made HLS feed, you'll have to give us the HLS feed with the SCTI markers.
Okay. And then you just replace the ads.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where the magic happens, because you're replacing the ads based on the amount of time that's available on that SCTI.
Yes.
Okay. And so is it fair to assume that the kind of free commercial time that is there on this folk that you are monetizing is similar to TV?
Yes.
Okay. But is it in the same breath, is it as valuable in terms of how much people are willing to pay for it today?
That's a great question.
Right.
It's not about people being willing to pay. I guess luckily in India, audiences are very used to watching advertisements. The issue is the programmatic ecosystem.
Right.
The programmatic ecosystem and the CTV ecosystem is typically designed for 2-minute ad breaks.
Okay.
It's optimized for 2-minute ad breaks.
Okay.
Right. And which is why and we started facing this problem where, because FAST sort of started becoming big in India or started launching in India around four years back or so. So the first phase was focused on getting the right kind of content. That happened. Then we realized that even channels with great viewership are facing low fill rates because the first 2 minutes are fine of the ad breaks.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't fill. So because a lot of these channels in India do use Thunderstorm, which is our SSAI product, we launched this feature called Pod Split.
Okay.
Where, and we recently won an award for it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is a pod first? Tell us what.
There was the ad pod, like the 7-minute ad pod or a standard 2-minute ad pod.
Which means it's back-to-back ads in a
Yeah,
like a pod.
Yeah, so the SCTI marker, imagine point A to point B is your ad pod.
Yep.
If it is a 7-minute ad pod split, as the name suggests, we just split it into 2 to 3 ad pods.
Okay.
So what that allows for is that at the end of the 2-minute break, you again send a fresh set of ad requests.
Right.
So you can't change the entire programmatic ad ecosystem,
Sure.
but you can optimize the ad pod so that it's designed for the already existing programmatic ad ecosystem.
Right.
So it was a very simple but eloquent solution that really helped out a lot of broadcasters in India, and I would say particularly news and music, because that's where we see the longest ad.
Right. Fine. This makes sense, because if you have a longish ad break and you've sent out a call saying that, hey, do you have an ad for me? Or you have a set of ads that cumulatively are 2 minutes long. I may get 1 minute 30 seconds and then drop off, but then I don't have another ad to go out to say, okay, I'm 3 minutes to 2 seconds in. Is there anything else for another 25 seconds? So you've broken it down so that you have more number of call requests going.
Yes.
Does that slow stuff down by any chance?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay. And the initial one was because they wanted to speed stuff up so that you get an entire pod in and you would go like television.
Actually, in the sense that, look, we also need to understand the fact that India is a low CPM market,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Creating a fast channel from scratch requires a certain kind of financial investment. And it is absolutely fair for our channel partners to come forth and say that, hey, I don't know whether my channel is going to be successful in the ECTV ecosystem.
Right.
I don't know what the viewership hours are going to be like.
Correct.
I do not want to make that investment right up front. Maybe this is a conversation I'm ready to have 2-3 years down the line.
Right.
But today it's more economical for me to give you a ready HLS feed with SCTI markers. And it's a very, very fair.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Because the effort versus impact is just incremental, but then you're actually getting to explore it without having to sort of, sell the entire farm for it kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And India has always, it's not just about fast. India in any industry has been a unique market in that sense. And you have to have unique solutions and unique GTM strategies for a market like this.
Right. Cool. So speaking of GTM strategies, right? We were talking about this earlier. How are advertisers and agencies, and I see broadcasters, this seems like a win situation. It seems like a hygiene situation, right?
Right.
Your viewership is moving there. You need to plant a flag. You need to move to that space. Yes, traditional television is still burgeoning in India. So it's still there. It's not dying by, it's declining, but it's not gone away, right?
Yeah.
And that same article that we will post in the show notes is, they basically call for a refresh in TV programming. Right? Saying that, look, how much Anupama can you watch at the end of the day, right? Let's refresh TV programming because we have Anupama, we have Big Boss, and we have IPL. Basically, that's what's happening right now. So what happens more on TV? So now, if you look at it and you have the ability of understanding ratings and you have like the ecosystem that is enveloping TV and TV buying, how do agencies and advertisers look at this stream of advertising, and what is the prevalent kind of, the opinion right now, according to them? Since you're in the market now with Ads Plus, I'm sure that you have like both sides,
Yes.
broadcaster and what's happening there.
I would say that slowly but surely, CTV and FAST is becoming a part of the whole media planning and media buying exercise for agencies. So that is a heartening first step. However, what is always a big question mark is how do they measure it, and which is where there is a lot of education that needs to be done in the market, where you need to understand that this is far more measurable than your standard television advertisements, right? Because you know that the impressions have been served. We can tell you that whether the viewer, what has been the 25th percentile of ad viewing versus 50 percentile ad viewing versus 75 percentile versus 100 percentile. We can give you granular data around how many impressions have been served. And it is going to be a branding environment by and large.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a performance-oriented environment, but that's fine because you are reaching out to a larger screen audience. You're reaching out to an audience who has a different kind of attention span. It's a family viewing environment. It's a brand-safe environment. Agencies are beginning to appreciate that.
Right.
But there are still certain question marks that are there in their minds. And I think as most of the category creators in this ecosystem, we all need to sort of collectively educate the entire ecosystem in terms of what is measurement, how do we, probably cross-collaborate across devices to maybe target audiences better.
Sure.
Drive down performances through multi-device strategy, etc. Those are things that are solvable problems, but different players in the ecosystem.
And it's going to take time.
It's going to take time.
Yeah.
But it's a fun problem to solve.
No, absolutely. And the other thing that I was thinking about is that TV has the benefit of having these things covered in all the measurement stuff. What does CTV have? They don't have are they included now into your BARC measurements? Do we have the CTV ratings or anything to be able for planning?
Yeah, I think BARC has recently started evaluating CTV as well. But again, the wonderful thing about CTV and FAST is that considering whether it's Thunderstorm, which is Amagi's in-house product, or any other SSAI product that you have, you are measuring viewership. You know exactly how many viewership minutes have been delivered on each and every channel. Today, an advertiser or, you won't even, your ad slots will not even get recognized if you do not have bare minimum 80 to 100K minutes of viewership.
Right.
Your channel is...
And every programmatic platform on which you book CTV advertising will classify your viewership such.
It's automatically detected real time. You don't need to do anything manually. These manual steps have been made redundant in that sense, right? So it is as measurable as any other TV format has ever been.
Right.
And it's only going to get more and more measurable. So
right.
I think this is the way forward. But of course, there are a lot of pieces in the jigsaw puzzle that need to be put
together. Yes, it's a fast-moving industry that's also steeped in legacy tech and legacy workforce and workflows, right? So it will take the time it needs to take because big wheels definitely turn slowly.
Right.
So from an ad formats perspective, right? Are there any ad formats in CTV that are interesting, that are different from television or emulating television? Is it same, or have we sort of broken the barrier in terms of anything that is different from what we cannot do on a television?
I think I would say emulating television, yes, because it is, as someone who started her media with the television industry, we need to respect the industry that has been around for ages. They did a lot of things that were right. It's just that your standard L-bands, Astons, all those things can be replicated on your CTV ad format as well.
They weren't earlier, if I remember. It was not like a lift and shift. Earlier, were there L bands as well in terms of?
No, this is a new thing.
New thing, yeah.
This is something that a lot of CTV focused ad agencies or CTV focused programmatic ad players are focusing on. And this is something that Amagi is also working on. And also, I think one of the interesting formats is dynamic brand insertion.
Nice.
Which is, and we have had a traditional version of this on television, right? Where
Okay. I thought you had traditional version of this on CTV. I was like, you're already calling something traditional on CTV.
On television, what we mean by that is if you are seeing on news anchors with a laptop sticker.
Oh, yes. Or a Coke can on the table or whatever.
Exactly. Right. Now, imagine in the digital world, you have a simple coffee mug and you can dynamically change the branding because it doesn't need to be an actual physical coffee mug.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So these are formats that are being explored. I wouldn't say that all of them have, made their way into mainstream CTV, CTV ecosystem, but these are very interesting ad formats which have emulated our traditional ad formats from television. But this is going to happen, and I'm sure that this will pave the way for newer, interesting ad formats as well.
Yeah. How would you report on this? Like, for example, I want my logo on a cup, right? Or I want the Coke can to be replaced by Fanta. So do you like take frames and say this is per frame, like we have impressions or?
Yeah. Because again, going to be, chances are most of these formats will be inserted by your server-side ad insertion solution. So based on the insertion and the impressions, you will be able to measure.
Which is a marked difference from television, right? Because television would just give you a freeze frame and say, I showed it. And then you have like a sample set that could have viewed it.
Yes.
And that's it, right? Here you actually have like actual numbers to whatever degree of...
Absolutely. As when I had joined as a management trainee in CNBC, in my first week, that was the India 2014 iconic election, right? Yeah. So I, of course, I think my seniors were just also ragging me, and I took it very seriously because I was a very,
Were you very nerdy in college? Were like very studious and like...
I mean, standard middle class kid who went to bid size be like,
like you have to prove myself.
Right? So they actually made me count the number of times. I think, was it an SBI logo bug or I don't remember what, but how many times it spun on the screen.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I actually did count it.
But actually, this is a legitimate job in the industry. You have people who actually sit and watch live matches and like score out saying that this happened. So there is, for audit purposes, there are people who sit in offices who do stuff like this.
I did suffer from existential crisis by the end of it. But you don't need a hapless management trainee doing that anymore, right?
That is true. Okay. So how do I list myself on an EPG, right? You said you can make a channel, right?
Right.
Now this EPG, which is an electronic program, I'm assuming belongs to various types of providers,
right?
From a CloudWalker right up to a Samsung OEM.
Yes.
So do you help me as a broadcaster list myself there, and how do I appear? Like, how do I come up on the first 5, 10 or whatever? Do I pay? Is it based on the household? Like, how does it work?
No, actually, it's a very simple process. Depending on the platform's preference.
Okay.
Ultimately, they call the shots in terms of whether they want that channel or not. Because look, at the end of the day, today as a platform I could say that I have too many music channels or I have too many news channels. So you are not really a differentiating factor for me.
Okay.
However, if you have an entertainment channel, a GC channel, I'm ready to take you on board, right? So that really depends. So there are a bunch of factors where is there a differentiating factor in terms of the genre or the quality of content that you're bringing on the table? Then the platform in itself will promote your content, right? There is merit in it to promote your content. The other thing is, sometimes it's based on seasonality.
Okay.
What we do is we do have a content strategy team who does work with the platforms and regularly, sometimes if you look at a Xiaomi, the entire content strategy from Xiaomi's side for Fast is being led by their HQ.
Okay.
So obviously, if there is an Ugadi coming up, then it's our content strategy team who tells them that, we have a Kannada channel and we have a Telugu channel and they have great content. why don't you promote it? It'll be it's seasonal, and you'll get that viewership pull. So we help them create that context.
Okay.
And a lot of times they promote content on the basis of that. When the Ayodhya temple inauguration was happening, we help the platforms understand that this is important, because again, there are platforms that do have content BD folks localized in each and every geography where they have a fast strategy. But there are platforms where, everything is led by the HQ.
Okay.
And in that case, you need to do some context setting. So it really depends on platform to platform. But we do help them sort of understand that what would help them, because at the end of the day, it's a win-win-win. If you promote the right kind of content, there will be more viewership. If there is going to be more viewership, there will be more ad slots. If there are more ad slots.
And this content and the ads on the EPG are shared by the OEM.
Yes, shared by the OEM.
As in, there's a revenue share with the OEM, saying that
it depends. It could be an inventory share as well. It could be a revenue share as well.
Okay. And inventory share is out of 3 spots. 1 spot is mine, 2 spots are yours.
Yeah.
Okay. And they fill it in with their own ad network.
Exactly.
Their own teams to be able to
and then the content partner fills it in with their own.
And just like you have on, say, a YouTube, etc., the ability for me as a owner of a channel who's on the EPG, I can actually advertise on their masthead and say, here's my new show that's appearing that you can watch on my channel. Is that something that happens at all, or is it something?
It is beginning to happen where, like I said, like if there is some seasonality coming up or there's a new major channel that is being launched by, say, a platform like LG, they may promote that channel on their masthead.
Right.
Like LG is promoting this channel Lalan Top right now quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right. So that does happen. It's there is some sense and sensibility around it, around the topicality of the content, around whether the channel is new, it's interesting. Is it clutter breaking in terms of whatever genre the platform already has? So
Is there a concept of bundling that's coming through, right? Like I don't own this content, but I'm putting this together as part of a kind of either a homogeneous set of information. So it's like I'm not History Channel, but I'm going to get together a playlist of things or a channel of things that I'm going to syndicate from other channels to put together. Like I don't own like how I'd bundle a channel, like if I was a person putting together a playlist on Spotify, or if I was like a channel on YouTube. Is that even happening right now, or you need to own your content?
You need to, I mean, the channel needs to be, the content needs to be part of your channel to be able to do that.
Right.
However, in terms of bundling, what we were some time back talking about agencies and advertisers.
Yeah.
There are advertisers who may have, and this is a hypothetical example completely, but there may be a CPG or an FMCG advertiser who says that I want to advertise my products on GC and music channels. So then when we are planning the campaign, we just focus, we cherry pick the GC and music channels. There could be a brand that says that I want to advertise on your news inventory.
Right.
So that's something. Then we bundle all the news channels and ensure that we make it a relevant advertising environment for the advertiser. So that sort of bundling is definitely happening. The sort of bundling that you were talking about is what we would call hyper-personalization in the content viewing space. I think that is future-looking. I do think that eventually that will happen. We haven't used the buzzword AI yet in our conversation.
Hey, we went so far without using it.
Yes. So eventually probably that will happen. Right. As of now, I think the way bundling is happening is in terms of, curating certain channels, curating certain environments for advertisers, etc.
Okay. Let's spend the last 5-10 minutes on Ads Plus.
Sure.
Right? Can you dive a little deeper on what Ads Plus is? I know that you kind of hit upon it a little bit on the monetization aspect, right? Study marks and everything else. And, and tell us, how does Ads Plus actually work, right? And how do I, as an advertiser listening to this, or a broadcaster listening to this, what are the gains for me from both sides?
Right. So Amagi is in the middle of both. We think of Ads Plus as a marketplace,
okay,
where if today there is an advertiser out there that wants to, like I just give you an example. I'm a CPG advertiser. I want to figure out if there are GC music channels in the CTV ecosystem where I want to advertise my products. The fact that Amagi works with majority of the FAST platforms, majority of the FAST channels in the country and also across the globe, we have access to a lot of that inventory. So we can bundle it based on scale, as opposed to you working with individual, content owners. Like you could be working with channel partner A, channel partner B, channel partner C.
Right.
But working with an Amagi, the value proposition is that we can create that scale for you. For instance, last year during the US elections, we created specific PMP campaigns for with the theme of the US politics, right?
So, and where will you place these? They are placed on your marketplace for people to come and buy them, or do you go place it on a DSP? Like, how will you, like, where do I find this?
We work with majority of the major DSPs and SSPs who understand the CTV ecosystem. We are also, I would say we work with a combination of the global players plus local giants.
Okay.
In each market.
And so that gets discovered. So there's a lot of work that goes into curating. Right. And making this available. So as an advertiser, I'm able to discover inventory, discover programming, discover programs against which I want to advertise. And as a broadcaster, I'm able to partner with you to be able to bring to the fore what I'm doing. So for example, if I have fresh programming that's coming out on CTV, or if I have some library content that's fantastic, like for example, Netflix brought back Friends to life.
Yes.
Right? So much so that there was merchandising that came back to life.
Yes.
Seinfeld came back to life, right? So there is a new life that has been given to all of these shows that, we had forgotten about, or we're like, I can't believe you're watching this, when you have children at home or whatever, you're like, I can't believe you're watching this. We watched this like 25 years ago.
Right.
So from an Ad Plus perspective and an education perspective, right? You recently had your LA Fast event.
Yes.
Right? What is that event all about? Because I keep reading about it and we get smatterings. Or you can tell us a little more about what happens there.
So basically, as the name, LA is the hotbed of entertainment. I mean, it's the mecca of entertainment, right? And if FAST is one of the upcoming, I would say in the US, it's already fairly established. If it's one of the established entertainment formats or content viewing formats, consumption formats for audiences, where else would you have a conference like this, which is focused absolutely on FAST, right? Yes. LA had to be the place.
Yes.
So it's a place where we get all kinds of platform partners like the Samsungs, Rokus, blah, blah, blah of the world, and different kinds of content partners. Because again, in the US, you have, which we have in different parts of the country as well, but you have digital native content owners, you have traditional broadcasters, you have production houses. There is no dearth of content.
The content chain, right? The entire
ecosystem just resides there. So the idea was to get all of them under the same roof.
Right.
Talk about FAST, talk about the technology of FAST, talk about the opportunity of FAST. And by opportunity, we mean, reaching out to the audiences, the ad opportunity as well. So I think it sort of started with technology because at the heart of it, we are a tech company. Started talking about the opportunity in terms of distribution. So it's evolved over the years.
Right.
Of late, like we have had a lot of our Ads Plus team members from US attending LA Fast, talking about the advertising opportunity, how it is, even if FAST for a content partner is not your primary source of revenue, it's a very steady additional
significant,
steady and significant additional source of revenue. So it cannot be ignored.
And from what you're talking about, the effort to get that revenue up and running is not as much as me selling a TV spot as of now, as today, right?
Yes.
Because today you're saying that it is an additional incremental revenue source and you're helping them completely along the way.
Exactly. And one of the other things, and this is something when we talk about the digital ad ecosystem, I think in this day and age, we cannot ignore the concept of supply path optimization. We are weeding out a lot of in the programmatic ecosystem, you're weeding out a lot of middlemen and random rent-seeking behavior, right?
Yes.
So partnering with Amagi helps you minimize these hops as well.
Right.
So that's
And
another,
makes it more affordable for you, right? And profitable for you.
makes it more profitable for you, makes it safer for you, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you're relying on a bunch of middlemen,
They're going to lose sight of it.
you will see a spike in your revenue maybe in the first few months, but there'll be a sudden gap because they'll be weeded out.
Or you
the
don't get
system.
paid.
Exactly. So there is a statistic that says that today, to reach a single CTV ad spot, there are 147 ways.
No way.
So there has to be some house cleaning in order. So I think if people appreciate that there is this house cleaning in order that's taking place, I think partnering with Amagi also makes a lot of sense, because we work directly with these platform partners, we work directly with these content partners. So we are definitely a lot closer to the inventory than a lot of other middlemen in the ecosystem.
Nice. And would you say India is ahead in the APAC region, or is it Australia, or is it?
It is actually ahead, I would say. Like today in APAC, I mean, I would say it's one of the major consideration markets for FAST. I would go as far as saying that any OEM or any platform partner that's thinking of a FAST strategy today in APAC is not going to ignore India. Because while India gets a lot of flack for the low CPM, but we cannot ignore the scale.
Yeah. It makes that up in volumes, obviously. Yeah.
And absolutely. And look, Indians love their television. And it's an easier way of, CTV is just an easier way of watching the channels that they have already loved for years.
Just like your folks.
Yes, exactly. ABP Anando.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Just
it.
switch it on.
Yes,
Find the icon and click on it.
exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for joining me today, Oindila. And for everybody who's listening, Oindila will be tagged on this. If you want to talk to her about FAST, if you want to talk to her about Ads Plus, please reach out. And it's been a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. It was fun talking to you.
Of course. And thank you, Gautam, Santosh, and Leena for producing it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.